right? So it's a fascinating space, a lot of developments happening in the semiconductor space. So, from your experience and the trends that you're seeing, what are some of the key macro trends in the PKI digital identity space, right? Where do you see investments happening in that? If you can touch a bit upon that.
So, I lead the IM and next team, but then I've been doing IM for more than 20 years now. So, I'll speak from the overall perspective while my current organization is NXP. I think we were, IM as an industry, we're so focused on human identity, right? Because the humans are the weakest security posture in what we have done, right? But now machines have come in, right? In my current challenges, the biggest challenge is non-human identities, right? And I have so many of them. And the last I checked, some of them had passwords aged 10 years. Can you imagine how difficult it is for me to go and change passwords for those non-human identities? If I raise a voice that, guys, you are the owner, please change this password in next 5 days. The owner is totally lost because he doesn't know where the service account is used. And if he does change the password, can he bring down our factories, right? So that's the biggest challenge. In terms of trends, I think the CISO assumes breach every day, right? So I think every day you have to make sure you're monitoring. Every scan we find local accounts, right? And we don't know what we will discover more. Every account is a threat, right? So unless we know what this local account is doing, we are creating DMs dynamically and deleting accounts dynamically. Is in that span of time, which is not seen now, but did something malicious happen? I think that's something which the CISO is really doing. So the scalability, the brink of how zero trust culture is in the organization, where we are assuming breach, not having eyes to a system means we are breached. So that's something for me.
So expired certificates is one of your immediate challenges as well?
Certificates, yes, and I belong to a manufacturing industry. For me, the factories have to run 24/7. And I was talking to somebody and I said, a CLM solution is so critical because one expired certificate can bring down my whole factory, right? And it directly implies business loss. So, one mistake, one analyst would have missed to renew my certificate, and I have to face the business. So I manage the PKI environment also. So certificate management is a nightmare. And I think CLMs are our history, our present, and maybe the future also.
Excellent. I'll go with Piyasa. We work closely with Wells Fargo as well. And I know digital transformation is a big deal there, right? I know probably the bank is transformed from brownfield to greenfield, and then your infrastructure is massive, including cloud containers. So, which means I'm assuming at Wells Fargo or any other bank in general, the number of certificates that you need to manage is massive. How are you prepared for that? And what are a couple of ways in which you're prepared and handling the growing number of identities at scale, especially from a BFSI context?
Yeah, I do work at Wells Fargo. Just a disclaimer, whatever I'm discussing here is not Wells Fargo. Okay, these are my experience, 17 years on IM domain, and what I've seen in various industries in the consulting prior to Wells Fargo also, right? So, like you rightly mentioned, KK, identities have grown, specifically human and non-human, with respect to the IoT devices, the number of microservices, the cloud, and all of those, right? If we have to look at how do we manage the certificates, like a solution that helps on automated renewal, issuance, and revoke, right? Keep a track of when it is expiring, like what Pooja mentioned. Like it can go down, your entire operations can go down if it expired, and if you don't have that, you realize, okay, how do I really now come back with a lot of breaches going on, with a lot of eyes on it. So that's something. So with that, I think having a CLM solution that also provides a dashboard for the analysts or the senior leadership to look at when something is expiring, providing a security alert to the security team and the application team who own those certifications on those certificates on the servers, right? That is something that probably the organizations or enterprises should focus on, like something the PKI automation, or there are cloud-based PKI solutions that are there, right, in the market. So those few things, and currently the trending thing that's there is PKI as a service that kind of gives you an end-to-end. There is no investment like regular any other cloud as a service solutions, right? You don't have to invest, you don't have to upskill your existing workforce as much as you would have to do if it is an on-prem solution and managed at scale. So that's something I would say an organization can look out for when they are planning at scale.
I think my next question is to Ganesh, right? I think today itself we've had a couple of sessions. We've been talking about regulatory compliance issues, GDPR, NIST, and all of that. I think from what Pooja and Piyasa have also told, I think it's important to be prepared. How important is it for a solution to keep pace with regulatory and compliance requirements, right? Setting up policies, strong policies, getting full-fledged visibilities. How important is it for a vendor or a OEM to be in touch with the regulatory and compliance statements?
Yeah, it's a great question, KK. Thank you. I think most important, from the Pooja and we will discuss now, talking about the visibility aspect, right? Like once today we don't have a complete visibility about where are my certificates present or where are my identities present. The first important problem statement any organization is to step up is to get the discovery, the visibility aspect, going and manually asking your infrastructure team or IT team whether you have this data, my cloud team, cloud architect, cloud application, cloud security architects, application developers. You see the personas within your organization itself is large. Like every persona have their own way of managing their data. Somebody maintain it in Excel, somebody puts it in Jira, somebody maintain it in a SFDC, or they can have multiple ways this information is spread across. And sometimes they depend on tools, right? Like some kind of a Polyscan or a Rapid7 kind of a tools also, which provides maybe some information. Somebody maintains CMDB. But now from an organization perspective, there are multiple ways in which we have to go and grab this information to pull out an inventory. So first important statement or is like inventorization of this data. Okay, having inventorized, now what I do with it? So the next important problem statement is like, what are the problems I have with this inventorized data? Is my certificate valid? Is it still using a SHA-1 certificate? Is my key size correct, like RSA 2048? That might be a key size, like I have seen somewhere where people are still using RSA 384-bit keys. But we are talking about RSA 2048-bit keys, but we have seen in some of the IoT use cases particularly, where they are still using 384 bits. Now all these aspects, like why is 384 bit, can anybody imagine? Because there is a default configuration given in that particular tool, so they leave it to the default key sizes. They don't explicitly go and extend the key size value to a higher value. So from the compliance standpoint, it's very important for some solution where you require is to understand and tell what are all the problem statements around that particular certificate, around the key type, the key size. Okay. I think today we are talking about the mission identity management and the certificate, how the certificate has been issued. Who validated that whether this mission can even get a certificate? Right? How am I validating the identity? How am I validating the source of the missions, right? Like device attestation. Who's providing me that attestation? So all these aspects also becomes part of the compliance aspect. The next important things, like many places today we use a wildcard domain certificate. Like the wildcard domain. Why? What a big deal about wildcard? See, I am one organization. Everything is controlled by me. Why not just have a wildcard domain and put an automated machine? The problem is not that. The problem is like one application compromise is going to compromise your complete organization. So how are we going to bring that visibility and then talk about the compliance aspect of it? So now to overcome this, there are also a lot of standard regulatory guidelines. You take an NIST as a cybersecurity framework. They suggest how you should be compliant for something. PCI DSS comes with some kind of a compliance and say these are all the security attributes that you have to support or you should be compliant about it. Then EIDAS comes from an European, GDPR comes in. Now, if you take India, it is a Data Protection Act, DPDP Act. So every country have their own way of guidelines to say that like what is exactly required. Now, as like I think some before the earlier session, there was a question like, how do I know about all this compliance? How do I know this industry need this kind of key sizes or key algorithms or what is recommendation? So obviously you need some kind of a platform where this is going is not only on inventorization and more than the inventorization you have to relate it to a compliant and provide some kind of a data report saying like where is your score all about, the security score, the security posture score. As an organization, whether I am ready there, it can be a score out of 10, it can be 3, it can be 4, it can be 5. But what is it for me as an organization? Still, as an organization, you can go and fine tune certain aspects. Maybe as an organization, you decided shower is not a threat, so I will allow shower is not a risk for me. But it's an organizational risk. But always we have to ensure that the best practices are followed. So from any standard point, like we need two aspects, like one being the best practices around the compliance, and the second being like what is that we are going to implement. So from that standpoint, Keka, I think the compliance aspect is definitely is a very, very valid thing which anybody has to relate it after the inventorization, right?
I have one point to make.
It's working.
Yeah, it's working. So, I think earlier you said, right, how many of you spent effort to make SHA-1 to SHA-2? I did. And I thought we had decided 2 years back, all converted to SHA-2 and we celebrated. Right? But it looks like what NIST is coming up with, saying, RSA can be obsolete after a few years, right? So what do we do, right? How will we move away from RSA? Such an algorithm which we all have been using. That's a big question mark. I don't think even our CISO is thinking in that line yet. So yeah, that's a big thing. Also, I'll say, one of my, so we have a service now where application register. So any application is there, have to fill a form, what it's about, and all of you have inventory, right? I got an application, it says people are using hard-coded passwords. So we'll encrypt the password and we'll send it to an API. That's the application out. And you know what algorithm they will use to encrypt? AES 120. Regardless, right? But where is the compliance here, right? We are failing at the basic level when applications are introduced. The encryption are already weak. So big loop on compliance.
Yeah, I have a question. Yeah, you just mentioned about that score, right? So how is it being done now? Like for example, you mentioned the security score, then how are you relating it in the current standard?
See, basically there is no standard score per se. Like so organizations have to decide what kind of a scoring. But I can relate it to a real-time standard score. Like you all would have heard of CBSS score, right? So that's like you have a vulnerability security score there already there, but that is meant for a different aspect. Basically, it talks about your traffic, it talks about your SSL, it talks about what level of cybersecurity you use to that level. But this score, what I am looking is like to some kind of a numbering saying like, if I take a scale of 1 to 10 as an organization covering multiple aspects, like from like generally we as dive into this, like I see 3 important aspects like whenever I do a scoring is like 1 is visibility, the 3rd is compliance, 2nd is compliance, and 3rd being the automation. See, all these 3 things have to come very closely knitted together to give you a score. Because any of this is not done properly, it is going to put you in an outage. It is going to give you a security threat. So all these 3 things has to be put in some kind of an equal percentage, right? And then you derive a score, and then that will help you out to derive where you stand, and then give you a journey for making towards that positive score. Like I may be 3, it's fine, but at least I know I'm at 3. now I move towards 7 or 8 or 9 or 10, whatever is that. So that's how it is being done.
So is it built into the risk appetite of the organization? Is that part of the security?
Yes.
Yeah, so like any solution, right, where we are putting as a CLM, they will have their own recommendation. But as an organization, what is the risk appetite that we have? And there are already set processes and policies basis which organization what's more important. Like for us, it's let's say GDPR for across, then the PCI is something very important for a banking domain. So there is a risk appetite on that, and basis which whatever the product or solution that we use, where are they standing, and are we open to take the risk, accept the risk, or we have to work on it. So that is the risk score that we will look at as an overall organization risk posture and appetite. And then accordingly be compliant to look into basis the inventory that comes in, right, and the solutions that are getting recommended. Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you so much, guys. Clearly, governance risk compliance is really key. My next question to both of you, Pooja and Piyasa, is a lot of these tailwinds, right? One is post-quantum, of course. There's a lot of migration required. There's Google 90-day shortcut certificates. There's been the interest issue now where people have to probably perhaps look at migration from one CA to another. So my question to you is around crypto-agility, right? How are you, from an enterprise standpoint, adopting or even being prepared for crypto-agility, right? What are a couple of key steps that you guys are taking on this initiative?
I should not be the one speaking because I am quite behind in crypto-agility. When I say the organization I belong to in past 20 years. So I think the first step is definitely automate your certificate management systems, making sure you have the right CLM. Also, I think what I need to know is discovery, right? Do I know what kind of certificates are built in my environment? I may not know right now. Zero trust, right? If you can't see it, assume it's not in breach, right? So that's my second step. Can I discover issues around certificates in my environment? So CLM first, discovery. And the third biggest thing is scalability, right? Because I belong to an organization where downtime is not a choice, right? So I have to make sure systems are there. So can I upgrade my algorithm while my systems are running? Can I upgrade certificates when my systems are running? I think those 3 steps is something that I would love to take care of.
Yeah, to adding on, like I would say this is similar, the approach should be similar on how any migration happens, right? First understand where are we standing today, assess the current environment, where are we at, like Pooja mentioned, getting the inventory, how many of them could be vulnerable once the post-quantum comes in, right? Are they quantum safe? And then we start looking at what could be the second step, again will be which are our non-critical or low-critical applications where we can migrate them on, and what is the effort that we would take for us to migrate, effort with respect to going to a vendor which already has an algorithm which is quantum safe, or along with the vendor, if it what is the approach that we have to take to upskill our internal workforce, right? So that's another aspect. Again, looking at could it be again if the organization has a legacy and modern infrastructure, cloud infrastructure, could we look at a cloud-based PKI solution, or if it is even if it's a cloud-based or any other solution, can it support legacy and modern on a hybrid environment? So all of those assessment and accordingly pick at which is our application to go with. The third would be like how do we continue to monitor when things move, where and how it can get into a situation which is not, which can get compromisable, right? So those, and then look at phased adoption, right? That's where it is, right? Agility. Can I make the change quickly? And which applications can make it quickly, which will take time, and what is the effort? So a phased out roadmap and strategy would help us really move forward and adapt us better before we run into a situation that quantum is there. I mean, it's another 5-6 years, so it says like one of the report
Or recent.
Yes.
Okay. So one of the reports that I read says near about 2030, yeah, we are 2024, it's almost. But that migration plan now will really help so that we are ready and we are not getting reached when things
One thing I would like to add is you mentioned about Google, right? Saying 90 days validity, otherwise gone. When I heard that, I lost a sleep for a couple of days because we were not prepared. We are not prepared. Right? If Google is expiring the certificate in 90 days, the scalability issue which we will face is focus. So we prioritize CLL right now in the budget and in implementation, but then it's a shocker. More shockers to come.
Yeah. See that's where I think the market dynamics is really like so many things happening around, like one being the Google 90 days. Like earlier, like 397, 13 months, I'm happy that I don't have to worry about SSL certificate. Now it's 90 days. So 90 days means like every 75 days I have to think about a renewal cycle for my certificate. Like it's typically not 90 days. Like it even comes down a little earlier, because typically from the getting a certificate and mapping it on application owner has to come into the picture. You need a downtime, so you need a lot of preparation time. So it is not that you can do it at the last hour, right? You have to prepare 15 days earlier, like at least, so that you know that there is no outage. I'm sure like everybody hears, like even last week, there is one airline company that was an outage because the certificate was expired. 1 month back, the NIST by itself, their certificate got expired for 6 hours. Like though they recommend everybody to what are the
It's
standards.
almost like the ambulance having an accident.
Exactly. But that's the problem, right? Because they already started practicing 90 days, Google 90 days. For some reason, they have not updated the certificate on the 90th day, so it got expired. So they fixed it very quickly, but whether it is affordable outage, right? Like maybe for this kind of a company, it is not a transactional platform, it is an informational platform, so I don't mind. But it can't be the case, like as Pooja was mentioning, everything is like whatever is transacted in the industry is very difficult. You can't allow them to go in an expired certificate, right? Like that's it.
Thank you, Ganesh. I think this was quite insightful. I think crypto-agility is a key imperative for organizations. I think on that context, I was reading something on the post-quantum, the White House projects that is going to be a massive 7 billion spent on post-quantum transition till 2035. So I know like thousands of companies, some are worried, some are taking some steps, but from a OEM perspective, as a solution point of view, what are some 3 key steps that anyone can take to ensure they are post-quantum ready, right? That also ties to the crypto agility. How agile can you be? Because there's hybrid setups there. So how important or what are the key steps that anyone can take to be PQC ready?
Yeah, I think it's a need of the hour, and it suits very well with our today's agenda, like quantum computing, right? Like quantum cryptography. And so you are not fair. Like whenever I start with a budget, you need 5 minutes. Shock to me.
5 minutes. Maybe was supposed to see it.
And particularly when I start with quantum, you start with
And we have so much to share.
I think all of us can compromise 30 minutes of our lunchtime for this session today. How many of you are ready for that?
So 90 minutes becomes 5 minutes, and 90 days become 5 minutes.
Yeah. No,
I think you should focus it on
right
right
now 30 minutes of your lunchtime for us today. So I have a lot of people waiting with you. Thank you. Okay, so coming to that point, like I think I just started talking earlier, like the first important problem, like I think I've done talking about post-quantum to my customers, to our customers, like last 6 months, like where we started talking, where there was a lot of noise around this, like post-quantum is coming, NIST is going to publish, and in fact there was a lot of rumors like whether that will happen before the elections or after the election, but NIST make sure that like they publish before the election only, so August it has been published now. So when I was talking, like everybody, I think many people, like everybody know there is a post-quantum is happening, but how many of them have realized the quantum of the problem is like it is not actually correct, because everybody thought like it is like a shower to shift. It is not that. It is much more than like a shower to shift. Because SHA-1 to SHA-2, there was not much changes at my hardware. There was not much change at my application layer. There was no much change in my standards. There was no much standard in my protocols. Now, with the post-quantum, what happens is like the quantum of this problem of quantum is like, it's magnified, it's exponential. So, when we started talking about like, that's why I was telling Pooja sometime back, initially like I was happy, relaxed, more like after 5 minutes of my talk, everybody was on the edge of the chair. Okay, Ganesh, what should I do? That is what it is like, because you have to understand, because I talked about like where all my risk are, like it starts from my application. You take your Apache today. How many of you are depending on Apache, Nginx, IIS for our hosting web application? That has to go through a change first. My protocol has to go through a change first. My CSR has to change. My certificate has to change. My applications have to change. The way I do an encryption has to change. The most important problem is like post-quantum thing. Can I run in the same hardware what I'm running today? No. Today we are all talking about 300 signing per second or 1000 concurrency per second. Can I run with the same hardware whether I can do the same 1000 transactions per second? No, it is not possible. Because these quantum algorithms have to, the key sizes are larger, it works on a different cryptographical mathematical operation. The computing power, the processing power required is much more enormous. So now if I'm saying like I'm doing 100 signing of RSA 2048 per second, I can do only one post-quantum operation per second. Now is it like, okay, is my application scalable? No, I have to even prepare for my hardware upgrade. Hardware upgrade, is it so easy? Oh, okay, I thought today morning, tomorrow morning can I go and upgrade my RAM? It's not possible. So that means a lot of preparedness is required for us to give that information. Where are your risks? Who's going to do this? Okay, Ganesh can come to your organization, do a scanning. You know how much time it will take me to do a manual effort there? Getting into your infra and talking to application owner, their time, getting in that understanding itself is going to take years. So obviously, the problem, the content, why today like, though she is saying like 2030 is a timeline, no, we don't have that much of time because we have to prepare from today. So because we have to, the quantum of work what I have in front of me is to go and solve a lot of problems. So to that aspect, the first problem to solve is like that inventorization of that assets. The inventorization of certificate is a problem what Pooja mentioned about like certificate lifecycle. I am talking little more deeper now. Now I have to understand where all my network, my routers, my switches, SSL protocol, my what are the communication is happening, what application dependency. As she mentioned, like many source codes today, AES 128 or RC4 is being used. How many of you are still using RC4 for your encryption? Somewhere here and there we have some legacy applications still use RC4 algorithm. Sorry? Exactly. So that is the case. But you know that like as per the Grover's algorithm, it is mentioned that like you have to go on to make AES2 species when the post-quantum is real. So now even that transition is going to be a huge transition for me. I have to go and change my source code. My developer should understand this. You can't use SHA-1 anymore, you can't use SHA-2, you have to go to SHA-3, you have to use Shake. These are the new algorithms. So that means like everywhere there's a lot of education, right? That is required. So the first being that like to inventorize and then give us an input saying like where all your risk factors are there. And then second step being that what is my journey for changing it. I might be using a bouncy castle library, I might be using an OpenSSL library, I might be using so deeper into my algorithm RSA key generator. So now my class has to change, my method has to change, my functions have to change, my constants have to change. Educating my developer is a huge problem today. I am sure like how many of you accept that getting a quality engineer to do a source code is very difficult today. It's a nightmare actually. So that means we need an automated solution even to do an automation at the source code level, at application level, package level. So that is where the starting points comes, okay, like where we have to get a inventorization. So that is what we call as a cryptographic bill of materials. So we have to create a complete visibility of these assets. Then the next point being like, now what is my remediation? Is it a manual remediation or is it an automated remediation? What is the orchestration? Sorry, that's why I was not even giving my eyesight that side, only because I will see you occasionally also. So
He's the biggest quantum threat.
So to that aspect, like, so we have to start that journey, like, that's it's going to be, so we need some kind of an assessment tool. So that's where, like, we need to understand the whole journey and then provide everything. And the second being the certificate part itself, right? Like, the my PKI's application. Today, that again, PKI certificates has gone very deeper into my system. My DevOps journey uses a certificate. My routers use a certificate. My switches use a certificate. All IoT devices use a certificate. And there was a question whether OT cases has a use case of certificate. Yes, there is definitely. So in that case, like, that problem statement is also huge. Going and changing the certificate manually in every application, do you think is it even possible today? No. So obviously you need an automation and orchestration platform so that, like, these things can be automated as much as possible with the defined guidelines, policies and compliance. And most importantly, it's also very easy for our government to come back and say that, like, next 2024, RBI will come and say that 2025 June, all the banks should be compliant with PQC. We always feel, hey, it's easy for you to come and tell me that, but it's a huge job for me to go and adhere to that standards, right? Like, that is a problem there. So we also will have a journey. I think that's one of the things we want to highlight. Already Gartner is published, like, any data that you want to retain before 2027, all those applications should have moved to post-quantum by 2025. Because just harvest now, decrypt later problem is going to be there for you, you should go there. So at least all your outgoing communication, like everything in the internet, right? Like, that should become a post-quantum ready certificate, right? So we have to have a journey, like, and also should have a, that's the reason, like, NIST has given a proposal, like, classical crypto to post-quantum cannot happen on a day one. So they have given you a beautiful journey of a hybrid journey. So that means you have to also be prepared for a hybrid journey where you will be doing from classical to hybrid and then go to PQC. Why this hybrid is going to be present? Because your system should start understanding both RSA and PQC. So you have to give that time, right? You have to definitely give that quality time for that applications to adopt the new algorithm. So hybrid comes into the picture. So as a journey, you have to understand, now who will give me a hybrid certificate? How many of you have heard this term of hybrid certificate? There is a concept called as a hybrid certificate between a classical RSA certificate and a PQC certificate. So we need hybrid certificates, right? So we have to go through that journey also till we go into a clear PQC journey. Maybe post 2030 we can say all certificates are PQC certificate, but till then we have to have this journey. So that's a path which you have to take forward.
Your jobs are safe, right?
Nobody will send us out.
Yeah. We have RSC to migrate now, right?
That's why I always say, like, it's keep busy. Like, but only thing today, I think it's we don't have that. As I mentioned in the earlier topic, it's like we don't have that luxury of time. So I think it's all dynamics, so many things happening, threat problems.
I think fascinating, Ganesh. I think key takeaways on this is especially more sleepless nights, more Red Bulls, coffee, then of course the cultural issue, and then PPT scanning and then remediation. But an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for the insights, Pooja, Ganesh, and Piyasa. Big round of applause to them.
I want to introduce Kavita. She came all the way from US to answer this question. So you need to answer, okay?
She's already my customer.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, like to answer that question, like every country is spending a lot of huge. One example, like what KK rightly mentioned, is White House has funded $7.1 billion only for the quantum journey till 2035, just to adopt to the quantum journey. So, and Canada was the first country who said that, like, post-quantum cryptography in all their government communication, it should be PQC ready. They said it 2023 itself. So they were the first country who came out with that adoption amendments. And today in India, I am very closely working with some people. Like, I know we are going to get something from RBI and everybody very soon. So that means it is again not something like a plug and play. It is not that, like, everybody should move from RSA to PQC one fine morning. But every recommendation from the organization or from the standard body is like, what is the journey they should take it up? So what is the path they should take? That is what is happening now. To answer your other question is like, people are starting thinking like how exactly as an organization I should prepare. what are my top 10 items which I have to handle. People are in that inventorization process. Nothing has actually started happening in terms of efforts there, but definitely Cloudflare, for example, Cloudflare has already started issuing hybrid certificate. So that means, as an industry also, people have started going into an SSL TLS certificate with a hybrid certificate already, and Chromium browsers already supports PQC handshakes. Right? That means the browsers have slowly started adopting, and Chrome, I think last week they published saying like they have come out with PQC algorithm supported. I'm not giving that validation because I didn't test it yet. Most probably I'll come in testing on that next week. But we have tested with Nginx and Chromium browser how complete handshake works with TLS 1.3 and MLKM protocols, all this as well. So that means it's more of a preparatory stage. 2024 is considered to be more of a preparatory. 2025 we can start seeing a lot of traffic being encrypted with PQC. Then comes the other adoption in terms of my intranet, my internal communication, pod-to-pod communication. Everything will start happening at a later point of time. But most things, what is my? It is like I have my chief operating officer. He always says like anytime you go out of your house, what is the first thing you lock? Outside lock is very important. So that is very inside. Whether you lock your room or not is not very big threat for you. But outside of your house, what is there in the lock? Like that is very important. What is the law for us in the outside environments? Our public facing domain certificates. So that has to be protected immediately. So that will be my starting point, and then from there you can get into detail of all other journeys, right?
That's a very nice strategy. I mean, it starts at Cloudflare, that endpoints, and
Right.
then it goes into
That's right.
And hybrid certificates are, what's the roadmap?
Sorry.
The roadmap, we don't show roadmap and PhD is currently. Now, another 3 years, which is going to be.
So can you repeat?
Show roadmap and now it's a PhD. We told that 3 years is maximum we need to reach it.
Yeah.
So what is the roadmap?
See, the Shore and Grover is basically, they are the algorithms which say that like how you can break a classical crypto. Now, that's a methodology which they have devised a long time back, how you can break a symmetric algorithm or an asymmetric algorithm. Now, why Shore and Grover algorithm is very important today is like, with a normal classical computer, if you use Shore algorithm, it will take billion years to break it. But with quantum computers, I can do it in 8 hours. So this algorithm is only says that like, what is a threat vector for me? So once that is taken care of. So to take care of that only we are all jumping into post-quantum cryptographic algorithm. So PQC is actually nothing but to overcome the quantum computer's problem on a classical crypto, the post-quantum cryptography is very much required. So that is why we are moving into a PQC journey. I think I have a couple of questions there. Yeah.
I'll just start with a compliment and then I'll ask you a question. It's actually a fantastic session by Piyasa, you and Pooja, and take it. My question.
No, it's all about us.
Yeah, my question is, I'm taking a bird eye view because you are talking about aggressive timelines, right? 2027, 2025, RBI issuing the guidelines and all. India being the fastest growing, economy, by 2030 will be the third last, right? I want both as a thought leadership view and a subject matter expert view on how to safeguard and what would be the strategy ahead for Indian markets, especially when your Aadhaar is getting leaked out, the audit companies which are doing the auditing of it and their data is getting leaked out. What would be your view, both subject matter expert and thought leadership?
Okay, I'll take the second question because I have worked in my previous organization more on the Indian market. So I know completely how our controller of certifying authority India operates, right? Like how I have been part of some of the guidelines which was being published by CC. I have been actively involved in how this guideline has to be published. In that aspect, like in Indian market, if I take, we are still in the human certificate management. Right? We are not even talking about machine identity at all. That is one of the bigger problem what we have. Here and there, they talk touch base here and there about an SSL TLS certificate, but a machine-to-machine identity or a CLL or like all these things, that definitely we need a lot of change on that particular aspect within the Indian market. That is where, like when we go and talk about the need for CLM itself, actually, when I have been working in that, compared to all other countries, in India, the CLM's need is felt very, very minimum. The CLM's need itself is felt very minimum.
Because I think last CSA event, thanks to Pooja, like everybody, last meeting we also had a panel discussion. There were around 20 people in that meeting. 18 of them said that like they are maintaining the CLM only through an Excel sheet. Out of 20. That was a kind of a number. So we are still doing an Excel-based certificate. Oh, okay, this domain, this certificate is expiring on this date. That is the kind of a thing. But we are not thinking about that magnitude problem what we have in front of us. That is where I think from the government standpoint, from the CCA India standpoint, I think that drastic change is required. See, now, most of the time what happens also from CCA India marketing, they come and recommend saying like, okay, you move from RSA 1024 to RSA 24. They only tell what is that required, but they never give you the journey. The path to that is not. Until I think we also have been very closely that like we are only, as I mentioned, like it's a human-based certificate. That's the reason Aadhaar-based authentication comes. Because do you have a Aadhaar for a machine today? No, we can only do it for a human. To that aspect, I think we need a lot more changes within our Indian market, particularly that to have the adoption. But I'm sure RBI and CCA will come and say that like you should start issuing PQC certificate. That is done. See, it is more of, we all know, yes, I have to do it. See, again, it is like coming back to you people and say that, like, please lock your door before you step out of the house. Right? That is something which we know, but that is not an enforcement. But I think we need a path for anybody. We need government funding. See, now I take a White House funding. They are saying they are funding $7.1 billion for this. Whether we have a funding, every organization has to pay it from their pocket to do this funding. To do this journey, like what is that kind of a thing? That's our thought process. I think it should come from the government aspect and the Indian market aspect. That is one question. I think. What is the other question?
I was just feeling like both subject matter perspective and the thought leadership.
Right. So thought leadership, I think, from other generally in the market, I think it has been a journey. I think now every CISOs have understood that yes, post quantum is the key, and everywhere today actually many organizations are saying, I don't have fund for quantum certificate, but we have fund for quantum journey. People are ready to spend funds on this particular aspect because they want to do an inventorization. And they take this also as an opportunity to do a consolidation. See, till now, I've been knowing that like here and here and here and here it is scattered. They take this as an opportunity to bring into a consolidation phase. Right? Sometimes it happens, right? We start go on taking a lot of insurance. You start investing. At one point, you know where I invested, where I have some money, where is it. So we try to do some consolidation. The same way, now every organization will want to do into the consolidation aspect.
So, just a question around, like when you say cloud, right? So there's a lot of retrospect which is happening now, or introspection. There are news about cloud access. Customer exiting the cloud environment, customer coming back on online. Is it a right time for organizations to think of any kind of solutions offered by cloud service provider on B2C? Because it's not even a very skeptical environment. The way the cloud is actually running the business. Cloud is enabling a lot of things, good, but I think the level of support, the level of computing power is, which needs, it is also conflicting with all the ESG initiatives that you're talking about.
Right.
B2C is going to upgrade the hardware. That's not about the ESG initiative, but everybody is claiming to. So, what is your take on it? How do you think that organization should actually, well, it's the need of the hour also, deep quantum certificates in mind, but with so many things happening around the world, so many things happening around clarity in the organization, right? Where does a CISO or this think about?
Yeah, so I think it's a little difficult question. To conclude on that, actually, I think it's definitely going to be a more of my view on this, right? Like, see, I think for considering the scalability, automaticity, and all these aspects, right? Like, I think in terms of hardware infrastructure, in terms of a platform infrastructure, I think it is good to go and depend on the their platform. But from the crypto standpoint, I think it is definitely like you need some kind of a specialized solution being deployed into this particular cloud environment to handle that, because definitely see, it is not that like only one organization or two organizations. Every organization is doing a research. Everybody do it in multiple aspects. Today, you'll be, I'm sure like many of you know, quantum random number key generation, they run as a service today. So there are industries, companies who have started doing this as a service today. Like you do a PK as a service, now we can do a quantum random number generation as a service. To that aspect, I think to answer your query, I think we have to wait and watch on certain aspects. But still, it is good to go with solutions which are very focusing on that particular area of crypto side to be native and the platform to be at the cloud side.
I can add.
Yeah, please.
So I don't know for quantum, but then I think the PKI as an infrastructure also has a big dependency on the cloud. Because earlier you said, PKI infrastructure, you need root CA, you need integrity CAs. And the biggest challenge is, these are locked on offices. I have to send a person from India to that office to fix root CA, right? So I think first the mindset is to adopt cloud for PKI, right? Can you have your root CA in the cloud? Can you put your integrated CA in the cloud? We have big trouble in scaling CAs, right? Can you use cloud for that, right? So that's the first question which organization would have to think. Can you put your infrastructure of PKI in the cloud? And if yes, then maybe cloud is the adoption we need to get into quantum world also. Cloud may be the journey into quantum.
The other part is that there is a lot of exits which are happening, right?
Yeah.
It's definitely a motivator. There is definitely something which is not wrong. It's not with the journey, which the industry thought it would be. Right? And again, when we talk about computing power, quantum computing only increases by another X number of factors, right? So then it totally hits the ESG initiatives or anything.
I think that was because what has happened over the period of when the cloud providers started providing the service, they thought that they're going to be the leader in that aspect. So what has happened is it became very tightly coupled into that particular environment, but they were not able to visit. For example, I can say today, whenever you want to set up Azure SSO, they have a way where we get self-signed certificate from Azure. But today, we have coming to a picture is I want to manage the enterprise level. I don't want Azure to maintain my enterprise PKI. I want my PKI certificates to be deployed in all these Azure SSO services. That is where the difference is happening. That's why I said you have to use the right platform. As Pooja mentioned, you should use cloud. That mindset of going to the cloud is a good thing. But what level of application or what kind of a dependency you build with that cloud environment, that is something you should draw a line to see what has to be very close to that and what has to be taken out of that. That drawing a line is very much required for us to do. As far as that platform supports us to expand to the territory of having your own application. See, that application can also be in another it's a cloud side. See, today why we buy PAM solutions? Why we buy CyberArk? Why we have a Delinea or what type of, because they comes with some kind of a specialized services to solve that problem. Take a Jira, why we all want to use a Jira. So it's not that every problem can be solved from one environment. That is why we shouldn't tie down to a cloud environment. Cloud environment, those services it's fine, but wherever you need a specialized, you should have a hybrid kind of a model.
Guys, I think there are more questions on the board, but keep it brief. I request the panel also to keep it brief.
Yeah.
I think lunch is getting cooled down.
Cold, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's getting cold actually. It may not be good otherwise.
Sorry. Okay, I understand.
Okay.
Okay, 2 questions.
Okay, on one hand, we are getting to know that there is so much of development on the qubits, number of qubits being generated. So each company is claiming that they have come up with this many number of qubits. On the other hand, when we look at the progress, they say that still the system is not stable. 60% of the correction is still required. That means it's, for example, 3 to 2, 6, but it doesn't give the same output every time. Because it gets disturbed by light, sound, even the people entering into the room also will give a just a kind of result. So which one of these two, when we balance between these two extremes, why we are seeing so much of positivity, on the other hand, the fundamental correction has to happen to get the consistent. So what is your take on it? This is one question, sorry. And one more thing is, one simple calculation I came across, somebody else, it's not mine, somebody has given that. 2n plus 2 is the calculation given to break any cryptography in the sense. If I have to break 512 keys table, I need to have 2 into 512 plus 2, it's 1026 qubits to break 512 key.
Right.
So is it still valid or it's a just a generic thing, any idea on that. I'm sorry, not expecting to know that exactly, but still.
So, again, I don't have enough information on that, but then it would take, for anybody to break the 512 bit is definitely going to be easy, is what I understand, okay, from some of the blogs and white papers that I've read, who are mostly research that is happening. Sorry, could you repeat your question?
The first one is like
The first one is error correction, still there is not up to be
on the quantum computer.
60% of error correction still required.
Right.
That means that it's not a deployable, that's the point, because it can be disturbed by light, sound,
Right.
dust, anything. You have a beautiful structure there, it starts doing the calculation, but can be disturbed with small distraction.
Here there are two aspects, right? Like, so we are not actually do something in the quantum computers. We are not worried about what quantum computer is going to do here. Yeah.
Yeah, please.
When you're talking about quantum computations, the computation, he mentioned one of the things like computation of one particular statistic, and you are talking about quantum errors. Yes, the quantum errors, we have to live with it. It's not that there is no fully finalized or fully formed algorithm with respect to quantum computations or quantum error corrections. So, what is happening is now the theoretical error correction coding, some of the things are being applicable to that. So, when you are actually measuring one quantum state, it takes a lot of time, as of now, because we have to go with the error, again correct it, again it's a loop. So that's how it is. So you are talking about the key length, right? The key length and the computation with respect to DES decryption, right? So that's the more related there. So if you are talking about 512 keys, 512 bit of key, whether it is a symmetric, it's a different matter. Asymmetric, it's coming under the what I can say, the prime problem, prime number factoring, or it is a discrete log factor. Two things it will come into play. So prime factoring, it is always exponential time. If it is a polynomial, then it is a logarithmic log time. So it's about exponential. So it is one is a polynomial time algorithm when it is coming to DLP. If you are talking about the number theory based problem, it is coming under the exponential time problem. But things like it is model of log n square. It's not about log means n square. It's log n square.
Yeah, guys, quantum physics we are not going to cover in this panel. I'm an expert in quantum
You can
physics.
wait for next session.
Yeah, we have to do a PhD here.
I'll
What is
come
doing
to
PhD? Huh? Anybody else? Yeah, please bring the quantum physics there.
Yeah, I think one question.
Yeah, sorry guys. Yeah. Okay, so you mentioned about the hybrid certificates.
Right.
So does hybrid certificates are safe to implement? Because as we know that it will be with the less expiry date. It will be not for the long time.
That is true. That's only for a smaller, like, see, as it is, I can see, like, see, if you take an SSL, TLS certificate, now we have come with a 90-day certificate. So that means we are already moving towards a short-term certificate. Then now I am really worried about a hybrid certificate, right? Like having a shorter validity period. See, it's only for a journey. See, many places like I can always jump from classical to PVC just like that, but hybrid is only a path towards, so that to have a seamless journey. Because many applications, right? There are so many. We can list so many applications. Your VPNs have to change, your email applications have to change, your browser have to change, your web application have to change, your databases have to change. Every application you are talking about and you are interacting today, it needs a change because of the post-quantum algorithm. So to that level, I think even if that overall path, say like I hops, like saying like you initiate a communication from your browser, I type in saying like www.appvx.com. From there are so many touch points before this data gets exchanged and I get the website of my appvx.com. In all these journey, right, I need the quantum to be ready. Is it even possible in a day one? No. That is where we need a path of a hybrid certificate. So that is the reason it's been issued for a short level, but it is safe to do it because it is only more of a learning towards the journey and everybody to adopt. It is like a switch. I try everything and then I do a cut over saying like after this I'm going with the DQC, I'm not doing an RSA. So that to have that cut over period, this gives you that breathing time. Otherwise it looks like day when you go and do it, most of the transaction applications are get affected because somebody has not implemented postmortem properly in their application. That is something which is not a possible thing which we can definitely risk on. So we need this journey. Anyway, I think we will wind up.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.